Welcome to episode 428 of the Microsoft Cloud IT Pro Podcast, recorded live on May 19, 2026. This is a show about Microsoft 365 and Azure from the perspective of IT pros and end users, where we discuss a topic or recent news and how it relates to you. In this episode, Ben and Scott unlock some of the secrets to modernizing your IT management by ditching pesky on-prem GPOs and embracing the future with Intune and configuration policies. They discuss how IT pros are migrating GPOs into clean, manageable cloud policies. Dive into real-world workflows from exporting and analyzing your legacy GPOs with AI tools to recreating policies in Entra ID, leveraging GPO Analyzer in Intune, and decommissioning on-premises Active Directory. You'll discover how to think through the migration, avoid common pitfalls like leftover legacy configs, and implement a phased migration that minimizes disruption.
The world sucks. Hard drives are really expensive. Let's go talk about Intune.
Azure. Back it up to Azure. That's where my NAS goes right now.
That's true. I should pitch Azure Storage here. Azure Storage.
You should. Azure Blob Storage.
It is an economical offering.
It is. That's where mine goes. I don't know how many, 24 terabytes get backed up to Azure.
Yeah. It annoys me that some of the NAS vendors don't build in native Azure backup. That they all support Amazon S3, but they don't support Blob.
Yeah.
Only a handful of them does. QNAP happens too.
Synology, I had to just grab a third-party app, but it's been solid for me. But we should talk about Intune, because we've been talking about Intune, discussing, chatting about. Let's talk about Intune.
Let's talk about Intune. Well, we're going to talk about GPOs, right? Group policy,
yes.
Objects, and pushing them over to Intune. So we've talked about this in the past, but I think the space kind of continues to evolve. We've been on this weird ride of on-prem to the cloud and kind of what the parity is between the two and where you can be. I don't know where you fall out on it, but for me, for most of everything that I see and I do, except for large enterprises, most folks can just get it done in the cloud these days. That parity is kind of finally there.
And I would say, what you said, large enterprises, because I'm seeing more. I have some that are probably, I don't know where Microsoft considers the SMB to enterprise line. I have some that I would consider enterprise, 6, 7, 8,000 user environments.
Well, they consider it around that 300 seats, right?
That's true, based on the business license.
Yeah, if I just go based on licensing and when things flip, it's pretty clear where that line is. Now, is that an appropriate line? That I can't say.
I would argue that one.
I do kind of disagree with that, to say that 300 seats. I'd be with you. A couple thousand-ish could be on the bubble for smaller environment.
Right. Like a medium-sized business. Yeah. But enterprises, I'm working with one, and this kind of came up too, because I am working with a company right now that I think there's 6,000 to 7,000 seats. And we are in the midst, and now actually almost done, going from all GPOs, or at least migrating GPOs to Entra, so that we can start putting new devices into Entra as Entra only, but then also going to, because of their device refresh cycle, we're going to start then bringing old devices in as well and applying these to old devices, so we really can get rid of GPOs for workstations. Not for servers yet, but for workstations.
Servers are a little bit harder, yeah. But I also think blast radius is limited there. If I think about some of the organizations that I've worked for and with that sit in that couple thousand user range, that 2, 3, 4, 5,000, they don't have thousands of servers.
No.
They do have thousands of clients, because typically there's a one-to-one mapping, at least one-to-one minimum, between kind of company employee to device, be it a desktop, a thin client, a laptop, something like that. But on the server side, far less. And my experience at least has been over the last couple of years, even those server components tend to be the more legacy systems. Those are the things that can't run in the cloud, right? It's some legacy thing. It's a mainframe component or an EDI component. It's got some wonky licensing mechanism where it has to be tied to a specific CPU on a physical server or something like that. It just hasn't adopted the cloud model yet. But those are, even those are becoming less and less from what I've seen.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's your similar experience, like working in that space too.
I would tend to agree with that. So we're going to talk about migrating workstations. So this has been interesting. And I think primarily because GPOs have been around for so long, right? And I'd be curious to see, like, in your experience, what mine is. You get into these companies that have been around for 20, 25 years or longer, or at least been an Active Directory, and they tend to not always know what they still have out there in GPOs. Stuff works, so they don't mess with it. They add new GPOs, they link different GPOs, but how many companies, and I know you've been out of this space for a few years, but how many companies that you've maybe worked with or looked at this actually go in and like delete GPOs or remove old GPOs?
Very few. I think the number of, so it's been a hot minute for me, but that totally used to be like a space to go sell project work, was helping customers rationalize GPOs, link GPOs, dependencies, and like trying to just clean up the cruft. And I imagine that problem hasn't gotten better, because as easy it is to kind of, I guess, move the cheese, right? So client configuration management moves from on-prem to the cloud. I bet most people aren't cleaning that stuff up. They're just kind of leaving it there because, hey, now the client's not managed by that thing anymore. So you just got to remember to, when you bring in your new clients, to make sure that they go on this new path and don't end up in the old thing or impacted by it. But there was always that built-in fear of GPO admins, of like, especially in large, complex like environments, of not knowing what the cascading effect would be of one, changing a GPO, two, deleting it, like completely like disastrous, right? And then you'd have to come and figure out like, okay, recovery, and are you putting it back in the right way, or did you want to put it in someplace different? And then inheritance got all messed up. Like a whole like can of worms. I think like the happy path would be like, oh, all your client configuration can just move to the cloud, and then you can just delete all your old client configuration stuff. Unfortunately, many organizations have server and client configurations mixed together. So it's really hard, right? You end up with these group policy objects that have things like registry key changes in them that affect both servers and clients. And it's not the easiest thing to kind of rip apart. Like maybe in the age of like our AI overlords, somebody's like gone and built a tool for that, but I'd still be scared to click the button. Like, because I understand that fear of, hey, we got to turn this off.
Well, and it's interesting you say that, because that's actually where we started when we were doing this one. We were like, okay, we're going to take all of our clients and move them to Entra ID only, which means these GPOs are going to have to come over with us. So there's a GPO analyzer that's an Intune that we can talk about here in a minute. But the first step was actually to export all of these GPOs. So we started with this client by saying, okay, we need all of the GPOs that are applicable to client devices. We don't care about server GPOs at this point in time. Just give us all your client GPOs so we can go import them into an analyzer, or the GPO analyzer in Intune, which is really cool tool, does have some shortcomings we can talk about. So we actually went, imported all these in, did the analytics, started reviewing them and doing a couple tests. And all of a sudden we started running into things like, well, where is this setting? Or where is this setting? Or why don't we have this? And it was, oh, here's this other set of GPOs over here that we
the cascade, right? You just start going down the path. It's like, for those that are old enough, it's like playing Oregon Trail. Like, hey, you stopped by like the trading post and good, you picked up some more shotgun shells, but you're going to have to decide, like, do you want to go hunting or do you want to shoot yourself in the foot?
Then we said, okay, don't worry about it. We don't care. Client server, just export all the GPOs. Let's get everything that we can out of AD so we can start reviewing them. And the first thing, I'm trying to remember what we did first. If we put them in Analyzer, or just we created it, we had a PowerShell script. You can use AI now. AI does a really good job at looking at exported GPOs because they're all XML,
it's just
HTML.
XML. Yep.
Right. It's text that it can read. But just generating a whole CSV of here's all the GPOs, here's all the names, like in a flat file in Excel that we could just start looking at. And it was actually fascinating. Before we even started thinking about Intune, we got on a call with the server guys, with the desktop guys, with the application guys, with everybody, and said, first pass. What is this GPO? And do we still need it? Because you encounter things like TAT, GPOs with the word test in it, GPOs with pilot in it. We started looking at settings, GPOs that were targeted for applications that they no longer even used. GPOs for like old versions of Office 2010. They're like, yeah, we don't have Office 2010 anymore. We don't even need GPOs that are targeting it. I think we started just this first pass of export everything, sit down with everybody that may know anything about these applications, these GPOs, desktop configurations, all of that. And let's just take a first pass of what do we know we don't need anymore because the application's no longer there. Somebody remembers, oh yeah, I spun up that GPO to test something. GPOs, to your point, weren't linked to anything. GPOs that were just out there, but weren't linked or applied to anything in AD. We went from like 150 GPOs down to like 60.
Good that you were able to get the buy-in to do that. Like I said, my experience there has been really hit or miss. And I get it. Like we all kind of like hug our servers. Like they're not servers as cattle. They're still like, ooh, I can go hug this thing. And like Active Directory administrators hug their GPOs. Like I get it. They're there and it is what it is. But I've even seen like organizations just say like, no, you can't delete that. Like the CTO or somebody overrides you and says like, no, you can't delete that because we don't know what's going to break, right? They want like the empirical evidence that says nothing's going to happen here. And like sometimes you just don't know, especially when you're in like the really weird, like this thing's linked. Like I've tried to follow the dependency chain. It's linked from here to here to here to here. And I think it could only impact this test application that nobody uses. And then you delete that thing. And it turns out that test application was actually in use and deployed out at some remote site. And now it just blew up and everybody's complaining.
You're out of time. Copilot needs to be deployed ASAP. But is your tenant really ready for it? Years of data, permissions, and users lurk in its shadows, ready to be exposed by AI. ShareGate Protect sees it all, so you can find the exposure risks, fix them fast, and deploy AI with confidence. Microsoft 365 Governance. We got this. Learn more at sharegate.com/governance. To your point, I think that is the advantage of doing this if you are in that position where you're ready to go to Intune or start managing everything in Intune, because we haven't actually deleted anything from AD yet. It's just, what are we going to recreate in Entra without touching AD? And eventually, hopefully, that just kind of falls off.
Yeah, you hope for that like natural matriculation of, oh, I've moved all my clients now, or the majority of my clients, whatever it happens to be, or like this base. Now I can go back and delete this part. But somebody's got to remember to do that, or
somebody's got to remember
tearing AD down. And in a dream world, we would all just be able to have like 100% parity, and you would just tear AD down and be in the cloud. Be good.
That's the other interesting thing about this is that you don't have parity, right? Like there is no GPO and Entra. So that's been the other aspect of this, is as we talk to different employees, work through this with different people, to your point, AD people love their GPOs, and some of them have been working with GPOs for probably longer than I've been working in IT. I was trying to think like when AD and GPOs first became a thing, when we moved off like Novell for identity and switched to AD and GPOs and all that. But wrapping your head around some of that change from what you would typically have as GPOs into how you start configuring these as Intune configuration policies. If you've been in GPOs for a while, it definitely takes a little bit of a shift of mindset too. And I've also encouraged them to shift a little bit how they think about creating these configuration policies.
So let's talk maybe a little bit about like the export-import flow. Because like you said, so I haven't been hands-on with the latest analyzer and what's out there and available and what that does, and its ability to convert GPOs into your actual like settings and be able to push things through, right? So the new version of the analyzer has export, analyze, and then go ahead and on the other side, you're going to import in those settings and that configuration and get it over, which makes it a little bit easier, I think, because you don't have to look at the entire settings catalog and every single setting that's available in Intune, because just like GPOs, it's kind of overwhelming once you get to the full list.
100%. And that export, like you said, you would still have to go in and export the XML from AD. It won't pull the GPOs from AD, but within your group policy analytics, we went, in this particular case, exported the 60 or so policies that we thought we needed and import them right in. It's just go upload these XML files into group policy analytics. And it takes all of those XML files, and just like you said, it starts spinning through all of those and does some analysis on those of, here is the corresponding settings. So it'll give you, this was the group policy name, so it matches up one for one. Here's what the group policy name was. It does give you the Active Directory target. So what was this GPO targeting in AD? It gives you the MDM support. So MDM support is essentially, what is my ability to take this GPO and convert it to a configuration policy in Intune? And it'll say there's 0% support. Like, this just does not translate to device configuration policies. You'll get some that are 80%, 33%. I'm just looking through some that we imported here, 75. It just gives you a percentage. Some will say there's no settings in the policy. It'll just say, yeah, there's nothing in here. So it's 100% supported. You get a big green checkbox. Or you'll get a green mark that says, this is 100% supported. It'll tell you if it was targeted in AD, and then it does have a button here. So this is interesting. Some of these, it says no settings in policy, but then it does have a column for unknown settings. And if you click on it, it'll give you what is in that GPO that it doesn't know about. Because that is still one shortcoming, I would say, in the group policy analyzer, is you'll get those that are green checkboxes that say they're 100% supported. But when you look at them, it's because those policies are doing things like setting registry keys on the device, and they're doing it like as just a registry ad. They're doing things like running login scripts, because those are still very much a thing in GPOs.
You got to map that P drive and Q drive and S drive.
Exactly. And some of those actually don't have, there is no corresponding thing in Intune device settings for just setting a registry key, saying, I want to go set this registry key to this value. So the analyzer thinks it's okay. Same thing. There's no one-for-one mapping with a login script. So it'll say, oh no, this is great, but it does miss some of those things. So there's still that manual review process of, if it says no settings in policy, let's go look at the actual settings. Or if it's 100% compatible, maybe we should still just quickly peruse it.
There's totally a trust but verify thing here. You meant, like I was kind of being a little flippant when I said, hey, in the age of AI, this should be a little bit easier. But for some of these things, because it is just XML, you might actually be better with a custom skill or something like that, and kind of having your organizational logic at least to parse and look at things and see how it comes through. The other one is going through the analyzer now does the scoping automatically. So it brings in the scope and the tags. So that thing that targeted maybe the New York office versus the Boston office, does it bring those in the right way? And yeah, trust but verify.
100%. If you're managing file storage today, you've probably felt the pressure. Refresh cycles are harder to plan, costs and complexity are increasing, especially as file workloads scale across regions. That's why Microsoft customers trust Nasuni. As an Azure-certified software, Nasuni provides a global file system designed for enterprise-scale environments. keeping file data secure, governed, and accessible across Azure environments without added infrastructure complexity. It's the foundation to keep your unstructured data stable, even as your infrastructure evolves. To see how much you could save while keeping your initiatives on track, visit nasuni.com/TCO. That's NASUNI.com/TCO. And then it does give you a nice summary. Like in this case, I actually imported. So what I will do sometimes is I don't necessarily want to clutter up a client's environment with a bunch of imports. So I'll actually take their GPOs, just import a bunch of them into my tenant just to get that snapshot. And it will give me like how many are ready for and it does give you a snapshot. How many of these settings and all these GPOs are ready for migration? Right now in mine, I have like 630 settings that can be migrated, 248 that aren't supported, 19 that are deprecated, and then a total number of settings. So I'll use this to get a snapshot and then I'll just delete them out of my tenant. If you're doing this into your tenant, and something's 100%, well, even not 100% supported. Once you import them, you do get a migrate button where you can just do a one-click migrate and it goes out and creates the corresponding configuration policy with all of the same settings in it, at least what it's able to import of those supported settings. It works if you want to do it. This is one where I'm like, I get why it's there. There are absolutely people that just want to import 100%, let's go migrate them over, just automatically create all my device configuration policies. I don't tend to do this.
I would think you'd want to like de-scope things, right? Like it does pull in like scope targets. The everything scope is just default.
Yes.
That is what it is. But like you said, I think you do have to be a little bit measured here. The interesting thing is like, and I think just to call it out, like what you're saying is like, you're kind of like using your tenant as a test bed. It could be possible like, hey, go out and grab like a dev tenant or just spin this up and see like there is value in having like the ephemeral, like, oh, I can test this thing without having to blow up my real environment along the way. Or like in that world, I could also see at least for like smaller environments. So you're talking tens of GPOs and not thousands of them of let me import it into a test tenant, play with it over here. And then you could have like easier on path rather than importing all your GPOs. Just, all right, now I've got Intune and a configuration, export that and bring it over to your tenant in a kind of cleaner way. It's more hops and it takes longer, but it's been better vetted, better rationalized, a little safer.
And I would say even better named. And that's the other reason I like to bring these over is I think, and this may vary company to company, but what I tend to see is like Uber GPOs where they put everything in, they cram as much as they can in a GPO, or they have like one GPO that's all of our browser settings and another GPO that's all of our application settings.
I think like when I chat with you, sometimes you call those like mega policies too. Right? They're just like the large ones that are out there. So like, I think that's another thing. Like this is the opportunity to say, oh, hey, we're not doing like, if you can do a one-shot migration, great, like awesome. I don't think the majority of places are going to do one-shot migrations though. Like you're going to take the time to re-rationalize. So you can break down those like mega policies because you do want to kind of get away from those as you can. So in the new world of you've got Defender out there, maybe you go create like a smaller set of configuration settings around Defender. You create those ones around like your thin clients or like AVD or Citrix or things like that, like taskbar and start menu layouts and all those kinds of things. Oh, Squirrel, did you see they're going to, in Windows 11, allow like rearranging the taskbar?
Oh, moving the task. I did see that.
Well, think about that. They're going to let us move the icons on the taskbar. It's a brave new world.
Imagine that.
That setting's going to take like 10 years to come to Intune, so don't worry about it.
You'll maybe get it eventually. But no, you're exactly right. And that's what like Microsoft's guidance, and as I work with clients, that tends to be my guidance. Let's break these out. And I think part of the advantage you have of configuration policies is when you were talking earlier about how like you have linked GPOs and you have dependencies, and GPOs can very much feel like a spider web. The advantage, in my opinion, of these configuration policies is it's flat. Like you have, here's my list of all my configuration policies, and you just assign it to a security group. or you assign it to all users, all devices. But by breaking it out, it gives you a lot of flexibility, and you can create those security groups. Maybe you already have them for different personas, different departments. These departments have these apps, so they need these 5 configuration policies. Once you get these assigned, in my mind, it's a lot more manageable and consumable when you're trying to figure out what's going on, even from a reporting perspective. This security group, we have these policies assigned to them, and they're all named super clean. Like, I'll go in and I'll name my policies 1. This is all production, right? But you may still need to test or pilot certain ones. Put it right in the name. Like, I'll do like pilot, pipe, and then put some other stuff after it, or UAT pipe or prod pipe, so that as you even sort these, it's super easy to see which are which. And then maybe as you go, when it moves from test to UAT, just rename the policy. And then when it goes to prod, you just rename it again.
Yep, you got that devices versus applications, or like this user group, those things. I do have a question. So as you're going through this, like, how do you think about, because you should absolutely like clean as you go. It shouldn't be like a 1-for-1 usually. Like, you're going to rename things, you're going to push things around. How do you keep track of the open room for kind of like conflict between these new configuration policies versus GPOs, like as you're moving things through?
Around?
Are you one of those like, hey, let's go disable the GPO, make sure that client's updated, refresh, like push them over to the config policy? Like, what's like order of operations, and how do you kind of think about putting all of that together? Because again, I think like tens of GPOs, I could see like, hey, we're going to track this in a spreadsheet. I had GPO A, that maps over to config policy C over here, like whatever it is. But if you got like hundreds, thousands of these things, it starts to run away from you a little bit.
So there's a couple of ways you could go do this. Like, to your point, you could just go disable them one at a time and say, okay, we have this configuration policy, now I'm going to go disable this GPO. Part of the problem you're going to run into, though, is if you granularize this, it's this one GPO has these 5 configuration policies. Sorry, I'm talking with my hands, which nobody else can see but you. But then you may run into even where you end up with weird overlaps. I think the way we're going to end up doing it in this particular case, which should work pretty well, is we're doing all those Entra ID join devices first. So we are coming up with some fresh devices, new devices that really don't have any GPOs applied to them because they're Entra joined only. I mean, in theory, you could do this too by putting these devices somewhere in AD where it's just excluded from all GPOs. No GPO is going to apply to it. Apply the configuration policies that you need. And we're really testing. We're like, is everything there that we need from a security perspective? Is everything there from applications are working? Is everything there from mapped network drives are showing up? Is everything there from registry settings? So we're going to really be able to validate on some test devices that everything that was in GPO is coming over to devices now from configuration policies because there's no GPOs applied. Once we get to the point where we're moving existing devices, it'll probably be something similar where maybe we create some OUs that we don't have a single GPO link to them and start moving things around in AD.
Disaster. Like, that's another weird one. You start moving things out of OUs, and
it's going to be hard to just disable a policy unless we can come up with a good mapping of these 5 configuration policies or this one GPO.
Yep.
Like, it's definitely a little bit odd or a little bit more challenging. Not odd. I would say more challenging if you're trying to take existing devices that are maybe still in AD and still hybrid joined.
Pull them over to the other side.
Pull them over. I mean, maybe like there's some different approaches you could take here too based on the scenario. Maybe you just you don't necessarily you don't give them new devices, but if they're in Intune, you enroll them in autopilot and you do like a refresh on it. So one day, hey, your device, we're just going to start you over fresh. Autopilot, Entra only, just cut it off from AD as you move over would be another strategy.
I think you also have that option to kind of do things like user versus device configuration. So like user groups and device groups. And start to kind of slowly drain things over, like pick like, oh, this is going to be a user group, this is going to be a device group. Try not to mix and match those things, but you do have that option in there. And then you can start your kind of like filtering what's in, what's out, exclusionary versus inclusionary, and think about those things.
This episode is brought to you by Trusted Tech. If you're managing Microsoft 365, you already know licensing isn't simple. E3 versus E5, the brand new E7 licenses, Copilot security bundles, and with price changes coming in July 2026, the stakes are getting higher. Trusted Tech helps IT leaders make sense of their Microsoft 365 environment with a free licensing consultation. Their engineers analyze what you're licensed for and what you're actually using, and where you can optimize, whether that means consolidating security tools, preparing for Copilot, or eliminating wasted spend. Plus, they offer proactive and reactive support, which has been awarded yet another solution partner designation from Microsoft for support services. If you want a clear, data-backed plan that has helped over 7,500 subscribing customers save up to 20% on Microsoft 365 before your next renewal, visit trustedtech.team/MSCloudPro M365 and schedule your free consultation today. The other thing I would say you want to think about with this, because we've hit this before too, is just because you stop enforcing a GPO doesn't mean it undoes
it doesn't revert
what that GPO is set. Right. It doesn't revert the config. So the other thing we've run into, especially in some of these where maybe they're using like SCCM to patch or they're using some other third-party patch tool, and we want to go start using Intune for Windows patching, is that you like disable the GPO, apply the configuration policies, but something from SCCM or WSUS or one of those gets left behind because it doesn't get unset. And especially in this scenario where like retiring 80 GPOs, you do need to be careful that something you retired doesn't stay set, or that you need to create a configuration policy to undo something, or you could potentially even end up with some issues there because you get legacy settings that are left behind because they're not reverted. They're just stopped being forced.
Talking to users like, hey, go run a GP update /force. Like, huh? What? You want me in a terminal? I've never seen one of those.
Right.
As we're talking about like import, like export, import, and kind of things like that. One of the things that comes to mind for me is ADMX. Like, what if I was one of those organizations that like, I was a little bit more mature. I had ADMX templates. I'm kind of out there and ready to go. Can I just import my ADMX template over to Intune and kind of call it a day?
Sometimes.
Should I?
If you need them, absolutely. First, I would say you can absolutely import ADMX templates. However, at this point in time, and I'm still kind of surprised about this, only for the ADML file, only the English US is supported.
Oh, so like no special characters, no like umlauts, or like, oh, if you're in Europe, you're like, oh boy, I can't actually get this to come over like clean 1-to-1.
Yeah. So you do have to think about that, and you are limited yet to 20 ADMX files, and they have to be less than 1 meg, which that would be a big ADMX file.
Yeah.
But there are some limits there. With that being said, Microsoft is also starting to put some of the more popular ADMX imports natively into Intune, so you don't have to do it. Google Chrome is the biggest one I think of. I think there's a couple others that are out there, and I don't know that I have a list of it. But Google Chrome, you used to have to import.
Chrome's probably popular enough, that you want that there. You've also got all the baselines, all the security baselines. Like, here's a recommended configuration policy for you, specifically for security. But that'll start to line you up with some of your clients, Chrome versus Edge, legacy Windows 10 devices, all those kinds of things. But there's weird stuff out there like HoloLens. Like, I don't know who needs a HoloLens security configuration, but like, it's out there and it's available. So it's all to say, like, yes, you can do this stuff. You could do maybe like the ClickOps, like next kind of thing, but not the preferred way to go. Like stop, rationalize it, think about like what the impacts are going forward. Maybe go play in a test tenant and pull that information in and see what it does.
Yeah, one of the ones I've had to import quite a bit yet is there's actually no built-in stuff for drive mapping in Intune. So there are some drive mapping ADMX templates you can go import to create policies to map network drives. I mean, I guess the thought is if you're using Intune, you should be using SharePoint, but people still use a lot of drive mappings. So that's one I've had to import from that ADMX perspective. This one I haven't run into too much. It's usually like drive mapping, maybe somebody's using Firefox. I haven't had a client hit that 20 import file limit yet. Not saying it won't.
Now that you say that, like next week, here's your...
No, some of the other things we've done too, like we mentioned some of those settings that don't come in as registry key settings. Instead of trying to figure out like, is there an ADMX I can go import or some of that, you do have like your remediation scripts and your platform scripts as a part of Intune. So a lot of times we'll write, if there's a certain setting you can't do with device configurations, we'll write remediation scripts or have AI write a remediation script that we can use to go in and set some of those settings as well. Because those will, the nice thing about remediation scripts, you can say, go look for this registry path. If it's not there, go run a script to add it. If it is there, great, device is up to date. And it runs these every so often. So similar to how GPOs might work to just ensure that those settings stay there.
When do you think we get the easy button and we just get to retire AD? When's that day coming for us?
Do you know what the big problem is with AD? It's servers, yeah. I think endpoints, I would argue that more companies could just go to straight Entra join devices with device configuration policies than what they think they can. I'm always surprised when I go into clients and start working through this, how much works and how few issues you run into with just Entra join devices. Not saying there's not going to be exceptions.
There's always like the gaps, right? But it's exception, not the rule kind of thing. Like in the beginning, yes, like these things were hard to do. And sometimes you like can't compromise and you can't say like, oh no, I can't have that thing. Today, I think you have to have the conversation about like, did I really need that? Or is it really required going forward? Or based on the way industry and kind of technology is going, like, do I think I'm still going to need that thing in a year or two? Like, is it worth doing right now? Because probably not. Like, I think like a lot of organizations end up in these days, like the more ephemeral spaces, like thin clients or like AVD, Citrix kind of things. Like how much actual like device configuration do you need here versus single device or single like templated configuration up in the cloud? Just let me run, let me do it. And if you're an organization that can live your life that way, arguably like simpler in the long run. Like, are you going to miss out on a couple things? Yes, but it's also maybe a forcing function to say, like, do I need those moving forward?
I would say most of the time we might be there today with AD for workstations. Servers are definitely still the complication. If you still need physical servers, and that is one that now you can argue, well, can I do Azure Files? Can I do web apps? Can I do all serverless cloud type solutions? Probably, but that seems to be a heavier lift. And there's still a lot of enterprises that still seem to be running older legacy apps that need servers. Now, you can pull some things. You can do like your endpoint security if you're using Defender for Endpoint. You can manage Defender for Endpoint with configuration policies in Intune, but you can't like join them to Entra for logins to the servers, for the full GPOs that you're pushing down to servers. That one to me feels a little ways off yet of being able to retire AD for servers. I mean, we do have Entra ID directory services. That absolutely brings its own set of complications. I don't think...
Entra ID directory services.
Otherwise known as Azure ADDS, or formerly known...
You're the first person I've heard call it Entra. Like, I'd completely forgotten that thing exists.
Have to get my naming right. So I think it's still a ways off yet. If you still have servers.
There's your MVP badge for the year again.
Thanks. I try hard.
So let's wrap it up. So if folks haven't revisited this space recently and you are running kind of on-prem AD plus M365 and you've kind of discarded Intune, maybe another good time to go carve out a couple hours and look at it and see what's possible, especially with things like, hey, let me just go export all my existing or kind of a scope of existing GPOs. You've got the analyzer that's there and available for you. I don't think Copilot's too helpful here. Like go into the analyzer, throw your XML in there, see what it does, and see if you can start to bring some of your clients over to like a consolidated like cloud configuration management plane.
100%. The nice thing with this too is those will apply even if you're not on-prem. You don't have to have line of sight to your domain controller.
Yep.
Brings another whole set of benefits, especially with mono-remote workers. So highly recommend everybody do it.
I didn't think we were going to spend 45 minutes on GPOs, but here we are.
Oh, we can do it.
I should have known better with you. All right, Ben, thanks as always for the chat. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thank you. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk to you later. If you enjoyed the podcast, go leave us a 5-star rating in iTunes. It helps to get the word out so more IT pros can learn about Office 365 and Azure. If you have any questions you want us to address on the show or feedback about the show, feel free to reach out via our website, Twitter, or Facebook. Thanks again for listening and have a great day.